back with another Dogeparty episode. And after I had a little Shibe and Bitcoin Beggar on, there's been a little bit of downtime, and there's been a lot of developments within Dogeparty and the historical NFT community. And I decided to go all the way back to the OG of OGs on Dogeparty, the creator of Jolly Roger, which those who are not familiar with is known as probably the most valuable Dogeparty asset. And this man is also on the Dogeparty Foundation, and he's contributing to a bunch of different historical projects. He's hosted a Namecoin ID space the other day. He's wrote stuff on Coin NFTs. So there's just a lot of history and knowledge that Doggfather possesses. So thank you for joining us.
Hey Jake, it's a great pleasure being here. So I'm quite a fan of what you're doing. So it's really cool. Thanks.
Yeah, we really are all just working together at the end of the day, just trying to uncover so much information. And that's kind of what happens in these conversations is I have found out literally right before this that you had written on Coin, and I thought you were you had just stayed in the domain of Dogeparty, but you actually cross into a bunch of other chains and a bunch of other communities. But at the end of the day, we all share the same Discord. So for those that don't know you, or maybe don't know what Jolly Roger is, just tell us a little bit of who Doggfather is, how you got into, we'll just say crypto to start, and then leading up to the early days of that Jolly Roger deployment in August of 2014.
Yeah, actually, the first thing you need to know is that I was not the creator of Jolly Roger. I'm just helping to promote it because we have a team, the Doggfather crew, and Daniel Spiller, the original creator, is one part of that, and it's me, Doggfather, and then it's Zark, and we three work together, and basically. Before we entered Dogeparty, before it was relaunched in October, nobody really knew about these old assets or even cared about them. First, there was this relaunch by JDog and Exter and Javier, and so people were just creating new art, and I was part of that right from the beginning. And then we figured out, wow, there are these 2014 assets that are pretty exciting. And I was kind of hooked up with, the counterparty assets like Space of Genesis and the like, and Papyrus, of course. And then I was like, wow, we should do something with that, And nobody was really listening to me. So I was talking to JDog, and was like, yeah, these are all divisible tokens, not that interesting, could not make an NFT out of that. Then I was talking to a few other people, and nobody was really interested. And then I was kind of begging. And then one point in time, I contacted Daniel. And so we were kind of like friends pretty much from the early chats. And we did something together, putting some artwork on some old token that was pretty nice. And then I was basically digging a bit more into the data. And then I found out that, wow, this Jolly Roger is kind of outstanding because all the other tokens were basically all naked without any artwork. So we had more than 10,000 tokens that were registered in 2014, and basically just a handful of them had artwork on them, and was like, wow. I mean, I was not aware of that because nobody really had the data. We have this Dogeparty Explorer that you pulled up last time when you were talking to Bitcoin Beggar and Lil Sheep. But I mean, there was no database available where you could easily check that, just manual work. So I was asking around who has the data, and someone was helping me pulling that data. So I had the database, and I was checking all the issuances and found out that this Jolly Roger is so outstanding, and also some other of Daniel's assets, because he was really literally the only guy who was putting any artwork on them. And because all the other guys, and we were talking about that hours and hours about that, how that was working. And basically in the very first day, people were just sitting in front of their computer and running big lists of cool names, and we're just squatting them. Like Lil Sheep was squatting Dogecoin. I mean, that was just this token idea. At that point in time, nobody was thinking about low supply collectible NFTs. They would just try to squat the coolest names and what could be a token, like or these Ethereum-based tokens. that was basically the idea. This is why the supply of these initial tokens were also so high, typically in the millions. And then he was, for some reason, he wanted to put something on them, and he was using Imgur just to put some images on them. And obviously, since it was really a huge rush, that was no artwork that was created, within a few weeks, but these were just some clip art that he found and liked and has some story on them. Like with the Jolly Roger, it's pretty obvious, Pirates of the Caribbean, who doesn't like them? That's exactly the flag they are featuring on the Disney movies, So that was the reason for the Jolly Roger. He was just, a big fan and put it on there. And I also use it as a PFP because it's great PFP material, obviously. And and that for all these assets, there's some story, but it's really just a small handful of assets that had some artwork. For example, this turntable, that was one project we did together before I actually figured out, wow, this Jolly Roger is also there. And it's also from Daniel. It's like, this was more like one coincidence after the other, that the person who did something with us was actually also the creator of the earliest and most valuable Dogeparty token. So really just a few times luck, I would say. And then I was talking to him, telling him, look, they're so special. And he was like, no way. Are you kidding me, man? I'm sitting on those tokens for years and almost lost 3 times the keys. And I don't think so. And we're like, yeah, man, they're really something. I was talking him to, look, let's do something with them. And then was writing up this Medium article to really explain to people how exceptional these tokens are, And then was like, yeah, and he was basically giving them away for free at the beginning, and then this was escalating super quickly early that year. That first dispensers, I think they were like 1,000 Doge or so, and then this was escalating pretty hard and pretty soon. And then we were trying to sell some on OpenSea, to have some benchmark over there as well. And then they were like hitting 2.5 ETH or so at the time when ETH was $3,000 or $4,000. You recall the good old times. So this was basically in a nutshell the story with the Jolly Roger and how that began. And basically my job as a data analyst was handy, that I could, once I have the data, I can analyze them and check them and draw a picture. Which you need to find out, otherwise you don't see that they are so special.
Yeah, and okay, I'm glad that you clarified that it's multiple people, because when I was interacting with you, it's one
team effort.
Yeah, but now it's a team. And you mentioned one of the reasons that you did this is when Dogeparty was being revitalized. I think it was sometime last summer in 2021. It wasn't getting that much attention, right? Because there was all kinds of different historical NFT narratives that were happening. Counterparty was having a renaissance. Ethereum was. People were exploring Namecoin. There just wasn't enough people in the space to commandeer attention from everyone across these different chains. So you combined your efforts, and now here we are today. As you mentioned, Daniel created Jolly Roger. I believe he also created Milky Way, which I believe is like the second token to include an image. Who is Zark? Is this and so then just to clarify, it's 3 of you working on or corroborating this entire Dogefather crew together?
Exactly. I mean, basically, Zark and I, we started in October, just drawing some cards and submitting to this new rare Doge directory, which was kind of like the fake pappies, on Dogeparty. And basically, Zark is a very old friend from high school times, back in the days, like 2 decades ago. So that's the fun, or more than 2 decades ago. That's the fun part. And then we met Daniel, and we're like, hey, come on, it's such a great, but such a great idea to collaborate more. Because Danny is not the outgoing guy. He's not coming to the Twitter spaces, not so much, he doesn't like that too much, and he's busy. And so I was like, okay, I can help you with these kind of activities, putting out the word, running the Dogeparty spaces, going on pods and stuff like that. And tell the people what you were doing, kind of like. I'm kind of like his voice, if you want to say so, because we had all these convos telling me everything, how he was doing, what he was thinking. So I'm kind of like, it's maybe a bit odd, but I try to be his voice a bit and to tell the world that he's kind of a like Dogeparty genius or the Dogeparty, super OG, however you want to call that. He's, I think he would never say that from, for himself, but that's like, I think that was happening because even all the other guys that were issuing tokens, and even, really from the very first minute, like Sheep and also Notilda, who's doing this Dogemin stuff. I mean, they know that this is really special, that someone was putting some artwork on that. And of course, you also discussed that in the last podcast. I was listening to that yesterday again. That was so cool. I mean, how they were just putting, registering the tokens and not thinking about the artwork. But there are collectors that appreciate this 2014 artwork, and make a difference to, other tokens from 2014 where the artwork was added 2021 or 2022, even though the artwork may be way more spectacular, but it's a timestamp, that the timestamp from 2014, if they're just like 4 cards or 5 cards having that, this is just something very, very special, and as we all know, White Rabbit's very great infographic, on his Medium article, there's just so few projects from 2014 and before, like the Punis and stuff, Namecoin IDs and bit domains. There are not many from 2014, and Dogeparty is even special, and that's what I was pointing out in my Medium article. Even compared to Counterparty, which started in January 2014, so more than half a year before Dogeparty, there's just one token, this little very little insect. That's the only token with artwork from before Jolly Roger. And this is not, maybe it's in a dead wallet, nobody is selling that, it's not distributed. So basically, if you're interested in the first asset from Dogeparty or Counterparty with an artwork on it, it's a Jolly Roger, It's not just the Dogeparty, it's including Counterparty as well. So that's why what I was talking to him, many times, like, this is really special, man. And he was like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it truly is special. And I just pulled up the Dogeparty on X Chain. You can see here it's a 550 total supply. There's 330 that is held by somebody. I would assume that's probably Daniel or the Doggfather crew.
Exactly. And if you go on the issuances, on the issuances tab, and then go to the right to the green button called View, the first one, please. Yeah. And if you that's the most important tab,
right there.
Exactly. This description adds the metadata to the token. And that's the important thing. I mean, that's this line, where he was adding this link, which is, thanks God, still alive, that we still have this IMGO and it's not broken. And that was, on this 19th of August, extremely, extremely early, when nobody was really thinking about an NFT. And for some reason, he wanted to make those tokens special and added this artwork. And all the others were just grabbing names like crazy, hundreds or even some even thousands. And he was like, no, I have fewer, more selected ones, and I put something on them, something because I like that, and putting it there. Now you see that on the Explorer.
Yeah, it is quite unique, and this is where you get into kind of like some of the semantics of historical NFT collecting, where is it the timestamp? Is it the art? Is it the artist behind it? Is it the chain, right? It's Dogecoin. It's an iconic chain. It's the first meme coin. Elon Musk has been shilling it and a big supporter. and now you have the revitalization of Dogeparty that was pretty much silent, or you could say sleeping, for 5 years or so, and now it's brought back. It's quite a cool story. And so then you get into the thought of, what is the token? Does the image actually matter? Because if you look at the intention behind the artwork, is if there is no image, if there is some sort of intent, whether it's like on a Bitcoin talk forum or some old tweet, that kind of signals that it is art and not as much of a cash grab. Like if you look, for example, the XC Pinata project, who I had on the podcast, where he has the 20 or so different tokens that represent movie tickets and different things like that. And he posted that in a forum that the intent was to represent one movie ticket or one ice cream or all these different things, but the artwork wasn't added until much later. Some people value that much differently than just a complete or a complete just blank token, where somebody comes and claims volcano and then adds volcano artwork years later because of the historical NFT renaissance that's kind of has come back into fruition.
Exactly. So there are many different layers. I mean, I think ideally collectors like the timestamp as well, and is on chain, because I mean, why do we do these NFT things why do we put them on the blockchain? I mean, that's because you have on-chain transactions and nobody can argue, or you need to think about where does this come from. And that's for some it's like that. For some tokens there's some artwork, and for others you have the token plus there was an artist doing something and talking about that. Also like Little Sheep, like with this Doge car, where he was saying, look, I was talking to this NASCAR driver, and he was telling me, look, create some cool design for a T-shirt, and he can prove it. And it's the exact same design that he's putting 8 years later on a token. So you have some off-chain evidence that the artwork was already there, that there was some intention, and that he was just somehow not aware that this Imgur thing exists, And when I was talking to him, a few months ago, he was like, at that point in time, nobody knew. I mean, they were like a group of people. It was really a small group of people minting. Nobody was really aware that this is a possibility. Nobody was looking at this description field. Nobody tried it out. And Daniel was kind of like not in this group of all the others, he was telling me, and he was doing stuff differently. So we have just this, one person who was just doing different than many others. And that's why we have this kind of outstanding role. And there's just one other. Maybe you can go to this Wikipedia site I was studying before. There's just one other token, if you go down a bit, which also has some artwork, and this is this mini canvas. And if you copy that and put that into the Dogeparty Explorer, so it's further assets. It's right left from Milky Way. Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah. Then the last word, mini canvas. That's the only other artwork that was, on Exchange.
Yeah, I'm gonna open it up 1 second.
That's the only other one I found with an Imgur link. Now you need to copy the Imgur link because it's not even showing. So see, they didn't know what. No, just go to the description on top.
Right here.
Up. Yeah. So they put an Imgur link there, but not in the way that the Block Explorer understands that this is a link. So that's an Imgur link, but it was just put, after some words. So the Block Explorer is not taking that as an image. So this person was obviously not really aware how it works, but somehow put it there. So you could say, yeah, it's working, even though you need to click on the link and yeah, someone was doing IRL artwork and making a picture and put it there. That's the only other one I found, not by Daniel, but someone else, putting an Imgur link there. And this is the supply of 10. 9 of the 10 are in some obviously very inactive wallet, and just one is in somehow active wallet. So that may come on the market someday, or maybe not, but that's the other rare exception.
It is, and there is also Milky Way, I believe, that has the imager link
Exactly. So
right here.
so Milky Way was basically minted at the same day like the Jolly Roger. You see, it's also a working Imgur link. And the story behind that is that Daniel was a big fan of this CETI project, where they were searching for extraterrestrial, signals. And so he was pulling that picture over there because he was a fan and supporter. So there's some story behind for that token as well. So that this was no coincidence that he was minting Milky Way. So that's, could say it's is that artwork. Now you can discuss that, but at least there was some intention. It was just not just some random stuff that was minted. So, but rather a few things, and then okay, I like this for this and that reason, and then I put the it's also a clip art, so it's free to use on there. And even the supply has a meaning. So the speed of light is the 300 million something. I always forget the number. So it's you see that in so 300 million meters per second. So that's exactly what you see in the supply. So it's some thinking behind, and the nice thing with the Milky Way, this was distributed 0.1 Milky Way in March to every Jolly Roger holder. So this was a nice drop. And you also see on the website all the other drops that were happening to the Jolly Roger holders. So, dropping some flags and just make your collectors a bit happy over time. Mm-hmm. And now we have this awesome collaboration with the Puny Codes. Where we were talking in the Twitter space with Devoted and thinking, so what could we do? What could be really, super cool?
Yeah, I love this the collaboration that you guys have been doing with Puny Codes, and just the historical collaborations that have been ongoing. You kind of have to stay with your community. The overall historical community has been somewhat divided in certain sections on, the semantics, which is never ending. But when you partner together, it kind of reinforces the idea that the communities aren't going to go away. And regardless of what is more elite or what is more on chain or what is more or what is stored on chain or more decentralized, we're all working together because it's an evolution of non-fungible assets and not just stamped as NFTs that was created in 2018.
Exactly. So and that's a good thing. I was starting with Dogeparty pretty late to the party, but we went there to have fun. I never went there because I have financial incentives to become rich overnight because I have a salary and everything. And I just do that for fun. And then this was escalating quickly that it's becoming a big hobby. But that it's a hobby, I want to have fun. I don't want to fight with anyone. And so I'm a big fan of the Puny Codes. This is one of the most amazing communities and some of the smartest people and very engaged people are there. So I was pretty saying immediately, yes, let's organize something. And they were even saying, look, we know Jolly Roger best. Let's do something with this iconic asset and add some Puny Codes and let's see what people do. And they were like making really amazing submissions. So and there's a very nice prize pool, and then we will mint it on 3 different chains. That's I think very special. So Daniel will put the winning artwork on a sub asset. It will be called jollyroger.puny. He will put it there, drop it to all holders, and he will use 100 out of his own wallet and give it to the winner, then to the DAOs, to the Dogeparty Foundation, so distribute it a bit. And we will also put it on Namecoin, so there will be 20 or so on Namecoin. So we will have some name. And then .1 until 20 or so. And then we will also put it on the Puny Factory, which was having a pretty successful start with twice as cool Apple, where they had the Curio Puny collaboration. And then check then we have. I'm not aware that there are that many tokens that are cross-chain minted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, that's how I like to work. Uniting the communities rather to dividing them. It's way more fun, and we have more power. And yeah.
I was unaware that the plan was to mint it across multiple chains. I don't know if that's been done in terms of a historic collaboration. So I love the idea of experimenting, whether these are all newer mints, but then you're putting it on the old chain where the history exists could add additional value. And it's just interesting to think of the thought experiment to turn into an actual implementation and usage. So I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Yeah, same on my side. I mean, even though it may not have immediate value, but looking back 5 years from now, it's like that these communities collaborate and put it on different chains, maybe really something. So maybe we make an example that other people are saying, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's revive these protocols,
And it really reinforces the standpoint of historic and kind of the ethos of the early NFT communities. I mean, when you look back at the early counterparty days of Spells of Genesis and Rare Pepes and Saratobi, you see Pepe and Saratobi, you see Spells of Genesis on Rare Pepe, and even in the early Ethereum days, you see CryptoKitties that are integrated into a handful of things. You saw a Kiro card make their way into Rare Pepe, and you don't really see that kind of collaboration happening within the modern space anymore. So we're getting back to the old roots of working with each other and not putting up as much division as you see in the modern space. And maybe that's because it's more predicated on branding and marketing and hype, and there's a lot more activity happening than in the collector space. So to me, it shows a little bit more spotlight on the roots of the history that's not just associated with monetary value.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's as soon as there's money involved, everything is a bit less relaxed. We've seen that in the early Dogeparty days where we were minting stuff. And then, there were even the great cards were just given away on Telegram for free and without really much thinking. And we had so much fun. And then there was an auction, and the first cards were making 4 digits in Doge. And at that point in time, we had 20 cents or so. That was, quite reasonable money for some. So we had first 4 digits in dollars. And then everyone was like sitting on the cards, not giving them away, not even trading that. So as soon as there was some monetary value, wow, bam, people completely changed, And then it was like, no, I can't give you the card. Mine is 100 Doge more or something like that. And before it was way more relaxed. And everyone like JDog was always saying, look, relax, have fun. Don't look at the immediate value. Let's first have fun. Let's first build the community. And nobody was really getting that. And he had that experience from the Rare Pepes, of course. So he was like, the father telling the kids how they should behave, and the kids think they know everything better. It was the exact same thing, And he was right, of course. I mean, once the money was there and people made some money, everything changed.
It's skewed, and that's what makes a lot of the historical assets more value, because there wasn't an intention to make a ridiculous amount of money to 100x some creation, because you didn't know what the future was. It was very, very murky. And I pulled up the Doggfather Cruise medium, where there's a handful of different mediums that surround Namecoin identities, Dogeparty, the history of Emercoin NFTs. I haven't had anybody on who was a part of the Dogeparty Foundation, which brought it back to life, and you yourself was on it. So I'd like to hear from your perspective, what happened leading up to the idea of resurrecting Dogeparty? What were those kind of beginning discussions like, and how hard was it to actually get it up and running again as something that had been sleeping for multiple years?
Yeah, I mean, the main reason why Dogeparty came back is that it's basically a fork of Counterparty. And Counterparty was still alive. It was way bigger, And the same dev team was also handling then the relaunch. So JDog and Exter and Javier was at some point deciding, look, obviously because Dogecoin was, pumping, I think with the Dogecoin of 0.001 cent, that wouldn't have happened, But after the pump, I mean, there was some rally. It was, there was big momentum. And then they were sitting there for a few months where basically bringing, the servers back, you need to have all these updates and patches, change the old code and put all the necessary updates on them. And that took a few months of work by the devs. And then also you need to, create the website later on and create awareness. But the main work, and that was really also some investment, I don't know, like $50,000 or so, that everything was running. But it was basically also the man time, having the time to really sit there and do all these things. And so they prepared that for a few months, and then they were starting again in October. And then mostly, I think people from Counterparty that were open to do that came over. So that was the case in my case, and many people I talked to came over and were like starting burning or branding as proof of brand. What we are saying, not burning, but this time the Dogecoin went into a foundation wallet, and they were issuing some XDP, which is the native token on Dogeparty, the same as XCP on Counterparty, which is just a useful token to mint assets, named assets, or to you pay a bit if you do an airdrop, or you can use that. We use that as a voting token for who is the Dogeparty director, Dogeparty community director. This was basically voted by the community members, and every XCP had one vote. So if you are just having one XCP in your wallet, you had one vote. You could vote for one director. If you had 10,000, then you had 10,000 votes. So it was basically money or investment weighted. So and the reason why the money was not just burned and sent to some burn address and was basically gone, but going into foundation wallet is to avoid the mistakes they found out from the first period, where just money was gone and nobody was actually paying the server bills, and further development and the like. So you need to have, like a DAO, you need some money to maintain the network, to maintain the servers, and to pay developers for necessary updates. And that's a big difference now. So we learned from the past that we need this community fund.
Yep, here it is. I have it pulled up right here. 35% developer fund, 25% marketing promotion, 20% exchange listings, 10% founder compensation, 10% legal fund.
Exactly. And exchange listings, we are now listed at some small exchange. So you see XCP traded over there, and this is basically just marketing. You don't need that actually. You can use dispensers, but if you want to be found on CoinMarketCap at one point in time, you just need to pay an exchange to be listed, like Counterparty is doing for XCP. That's basically the same thing. And the Dogeparty Foundation consists of the 3 founders, so JDog, Javier, and Exter, plus 5 Dogeparty community members that are the voice from the community, put that into the foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So here I have it pulled up, the three founding members, and there's the 5 who...
And of course, Theo Goodman is the most well-known. So he's helping us with these auctions. Ernest is also super active. So he's basically, he has an MBA, right? So he's a smart dude. And he's super organized and working on many different projects. Christian was also already around 2014. Then he was also very active at the beginning of Dogeparty relaunch. And so that's basically an 8-person team trying, same thing like with Counterparty, trying to push forward the community. So for example, this is very recent. if you go on news at the website, go please on this Dogeparty plus Dogecoin Foundation. So this is pretty new. It was just put by Ernest on there today. And as you may be aware of, so Counterparty and the Bitcoin community were never big friends. For some reason, most people just hold their Bitcoin and value it, and that's it. I don't want to call that maxis, but you could interpret it that way. And they never really liked Counterparty and NFTs, and that's basically two different worlds. And it was a bit the same with Dogecoin and Dogeparty. Even though what we do, the memes and Dogecoin community, basically we just put the memes on an NFT. So most of the Dogeparty assets are fun, they're memes. So basically, I would say it's not that far away. And Dogecoin was never really used as digital gold. It was more like for tipping, for volunteering and helping, and stuff like that. So it's not that far away from what we do. But at the beginning, the Dogecoin community was not very eager, to welcome Dogeparty after the relaunch. And we talked to many, and some came over, but not thousands, I would say. And recently, there was a meeting just end of July between the Dogeparty Foundation members and some Dogecoin Foundation members, led by Tim. And that was very productive and very friendly. And it now looks like the Dogecoin Foundation will also put the wallet on their website and be kind of friendly and welcoming, which makes completely sense because you need some utility for your protocol. You need users. And if NFTs is not a very big utility, for example, for Ethereum, I don't know, Dogecoin doesn't have smart contracts. They don't have all the DeFi stuff. It's basically tipping and transactions, so payments. If you add NFTs, that could be a big pillar of utility. So it's big win-win situation.
Yeah, and also you have a thriving community there as well from the historical perspective, but also some of the newer projects with Rare Doge, and I think it's Rare or Doge Reject, and some of the newer projects. So you just are adding an additional layer 0, which is like the social consensus layer on top of it to reinforce the ideals.
Exactly. So if you take the very active Dogecoin community, we're not talking about these millions of wallets. It's also just a few hundreds or a few thousand of active people on Twitter. Add 10-20% from Dogeparty and you're way more powerful. And so it makes extremely sense. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that's also what the Dogeparty Foundation needs to do. And that's a big job, just to make Dogeparty a bit. So, for example, if you go to Much Wallets on top, they just have 3 wallets, right? There's no Dogeparty wallet featured. They just have their 2 Dogecoin wallets plus this My Doge. That's it. It wouldn't hurt to have a 4th one where you can actually mint and trade and distribute NFTs. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I hope that becomes a reality too. Doge Wallet is it's very easy. It's similar to Free Wallet. It has the exchange built in, it has the minting process built in, and
exactly
it's very easy to follow.
And it's so super easy with Dogeparty, right? So you pay 1 Doge at the moment to mint an asset. You don't even need this XCP. You just need that if you have a named asset, and it takes you 1 minute. So I actually developed a class for high school students because it's so easy and you see it, right? You go to the Explorer and then it's there. It's just the name, so you don't need to program anything. So it's really a no-code minting experience where you don't have any company like OpenSea that need to give them some ETH to do that. It's super fast. It's super simple. You have the Dogeparty university with all the help videos. If you go on the top right, with all the videos, So it's you watch one minute of video, then you create your wallet, and then you can just send Doge or NFTs. You create one, extremely simple to do. So it's even for students super easy to do that.
Yeah, this was actually what I had used when I first got into Dogeparty last year, and I ended up creating a Dogeparty directory. Let's see if I still have it here. This was some point last year with just like a bunch of different resources and Twitter accounts, and trying to really uncover the history. And it's funny, the 2014 Dogeparty assets, when I first got into it, I started listing all of them. Come to find out, there's like a lot more than I expected. It's just the difference though between the 2014 ones is a lot of them are lost, or like we said, they're naked tokens, or there's no plan to build on top of it and grow. But there's a lot of content out there. It just depends on how we resource it. And I think this is why this the NFThistory.org wiki that is being currently built out, which is kind of unknown because there's a handful of people who are working on it, will be very clutch in terms of helping people understand the history of not just Dogeparty, but all of these assets.
Exactly. So that brings us to where do we go next, right? The historical NFT community. So should we be united, or should we fight for our own collection only? And the big thing, what Leo was initiating with the help of all the other big OGs like Adam and White Rabbit and yourself. I mean, it's let's work together. Let's basically work on two very important things. The first thing is education, what White Rabbit and others with all the timelines and Harry BTC and Leo were always doing. But let's put that information into one place. It should be a one-stop where you can find the timeline, where you can find the most important collections, and inform yourself from one source, ideally in an unbiased way. And then the second thing is, how can we improve the marketplaces, right? So we are just a niche. Nobody's really taking us very seriously. If you go to OpenSea and Emblem Vault, it's kind of a mess. Everything non-Ethereum is put into one big hole, and then you can dig on your own. And that's for Dogeparty, Counterparty, Namecoin assets, and some other chain. So everything is in one big hole, and then you can search on your own.
Mm-hmm. I think,
and that needs to be improved, of course.
Yeah, and it's getting there. I do think we're still maybe a few years away from mass adoption, but that's kind of why we're here. We're here to build it out, right? Once the arbitrage is gone, or once the hurdles to learning is gone, it creates a more frictionless environment, but then the spreads become much lower in terms of the upside when you look at like the financial incentive that's attached to it. And that's okay. We just have to kind of put our heads together, because if we stay very divided, then nothing will ever get done and none of these will ever be valuable.
Exactly. So the rise will, so the tide will rise, and every boat will rise a bit if you work together. And it's clear to everyone, right? If the big NFT funds and the institution money, the family office, and the rich IRL artwork collectors, once they enter the market, well, I mean, for the regular people, that's it. You will never be able to buy these careers again. I mean, for me, most of the assets are gone anyway, because I came late to the party, relatively late. But even a Jolly Roger maybe in 5 years completely out of scope for most of the people, and some other Dogeparty assets. Yeah. And the same on Counterparty, the price is already way higher. So for some rare pappies and Space of Genesis, the normal people, will never buy those anymore. And once the NFT funds, which are kind of built right now, and there are already some, but there will be 10 times more in 1 or 2 years. Once they are there, institutional money is flowing in there, that's it.
It's game over once you start getting some funds in the game. I just pulled up Moon Doge, which is the token was created in 2014, but the art was created in January 20th, 2022. And I just wanted to kind of wanted to showcase the idea of, you could see the difference of Jolly Roger, where, it's just a skull, cross and bones from 2014, where the image was added then. This was added 8 years later. But it still has some historical value to it. And it's just like, it's a very cool experiment to think that timestamp is just like an additional foundation that the whole message of this one specific asset exists upon.
I mean, basically you can apply White Rabbit's, infographic here again. So you have very, very few from 2014 with this original artwork from that point in time. You have some more artwork that was recently added 2021, 2022 on a 2014 token. So it's more, obviously, there are more, but it's not millions. And then you have a basically unlimited number of new NFT collections that were minted in 2022, countless. I mean, you don't have an overview, and that's it, And then you can choose as a collector what you do, but certainly they already have something, this 2014 timestamp of the token, and that makes them in 5 to 10 years also exceptional. So that's the whole story, right?
It is. And I just pulled up, so if you want to purchase Dogeparty assets on Ethereum through OpenSea, you have to open up Emblem Vault, and you kind of have to do some searching. Emblem Vault has mentioned they're going to do specific curated collections. I don't know how far along they are with that, but you could see here, these are all different assets, and the community does a pretty good job at writing right at the beginning if it's a 2014 asset, it's a newer asset, and then in the descriptions where it specifically comes from. But you could see, so I know like this, like Saratobi Doge is a newer one, but you look at like Dogecar, which I know is a pretty popular token, where this was added much later, the image, but I think there was an attempt that Little Shibe took to try to reach out to Josh Wise to get some sort of image or something on the car, but.
Yeah, if you go to the wiki again about Dogeparty, I pulled up this his tweet to show that exactly this off-chain evidence. So this is basically his tweet. If you go to the date, you see that this was June 2014. From his old original account, which was blocked some day later on. So this was really his artwork, and he was putting that one-to-one on the token. And I think this kind of evidence, to collect that and to make that available to everyone, and that they don't have to look at, who was minting that, where's the Twitter, how can I find that in advanced search and stuff like that. We need to bring that information in a very simple manner to the people.
Yeah, I think this is cool. This was actually posted, about 2 months before Dogeparty was even launched in August, 2-3 months.
Exactly. So you have this off-chain evidence that this artwork was really, from that point in time, it was not put on the token for technical reasons because nobody was really aware at that point in time, except these two people who somehow knew or tried it out. And for the others, you have to look for these off-chain evidence. It's the same like Bitback, Bitcoin Bagger, he was also on your podcast. So he was using this PFP already at that point in time as his Twitter PFP. So you have this off-chain evidence that this was already, it's not new. This was already there at that point in time. He doesn't have this this on-chain evidence with an Imgur link, but he was adding that somehow, attaching that to the token. But you have this. You at least know it's from that point in time. This is just a picture of his dog. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important distinction to just some random artwork that was created in 2021 and put on some token.
He also had an interesting story where I believe originally there was something called CoinDaddy, where you had to upload the images from, or there was some sort of attachment where, he says here that the JSON was added. And at the time when I talked with him, he was waiting on CoinDaddy to release the account to him so that he could prove it. Or there's some sort of nuance in there to it.
The story is actually very simple. So if you want to get some help in issuing a token on Counterparty, the CoinDaddy website is doing that for $5. You can enhance your asset with some further description. You can add a website, you can add your social media account, and you can add an icon. That's this icon that Bitcoin Beggar was adding. And exactly, so if you have an account, so this is run by JDog, and so if you pay these few bucks for that service, you don't need to take care of, is that super complicated to write a JSON file, and how do I put the icon and stuff like that. So basically, he's just helping in setting up those issuances. And back in the days, there was a precursor of that, also doing that for Dogeparty assets. And this is where Bitcoin Beggar was adding his icon. So it has nothing to do with the JSON file. It was just adding an icon. And obviously, if you have a centralized website where you put an icon, you don't have any on-chain evidence. So there's no transaction linked to that. It's just really like a company's database where this token, Bitbag, is linked to this icon. And yeah, of course, there's no on-chain evidence to prove that. But since his Twitter PFP was there at the point in time, it's pretty obvious that it is from that time. We just don't know the exact date, obviously. And he will have a very hard time to prove that, even if someone is showing an email like, okay, this was added. Yeah, I mean, that's like, it's not like an on-chain transaction.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. So now here we are. We're sitting here, August 4th, 2022. There is now, a few hundred or maybe a few thousand people now aware of Dogeparty and participating. What do you think's in the immediate future for Dogeparty? Is there any sort of technical upgrades that can happen, or is it limited by how that technology was deployed back then? Is there anything maybe from a branding perspective outside of that partnership with Dogeparty or Dogeparty or Dogecoin Foundation that can help bring this to the next level?
I think a broader adoption by the very large Dogecoin community is the next big step. Dogecoin is one of the top 10 crypto assets. It's after Bitcoin and Ethereum the most well-known cryptocurrency. It's considered a friendly one, a fun one that has a great image, I would say, and it fits very well to Dogeparty NFT. So there's a big fit. So there is no big hurdle actually. You just need to have this awareness, and this can come from the Dogecoin community, from the foundation, also from the devs. The Dogecoin dev Twitter account, they have 500,000 followers. If they were just talking a few times how great and what a great utility Dogeparty NFTs bring to Dogecoin, wow, that would be a massive push. I'm not saying that we have already the infrastructure ready for NFT newbies in the thousands or 10,000s, but once there's enough demand, it's easier to develop this infrastructure.
Yeah, I think if you've been following it all, or anyone has the fake rares, which is kind of the secondary extension of Rare Pepe. Now they're on to Series 8, and they just had a great amount of success. And I've seen a ton of non-historical collectors now begin to start collecting Rare Pepes because of the tie-in to some of the modern day artists like Dmitry Cherniak and Jake the DJ, a handful of them creating fake rare, which is just essentially Rare Pepes, the next evolution of it there. And there's that tie-in between the historical community and the modern artist, and then they bring their communities together. So I think that'd be something to watch and maybe have some sort of model there when the infrastructure is ready?
So that's one thing, right? I mean, the fake rares, they're doing an amazing job. I mean, they are really professionals. I mean, they really know how to do that stuff. But they also have, this growing or this very growing community from Web Happies. We don't have that. We don't have this middle path. So we need to do stuff a bit different. But of course, inviting well-known artists to create Dogeparty assets, that's certainly also a way to bring awareness. So that's one thing. And of course, I mean, there's one particular player in the Dogecoin cosmos that can bring a lot of attention. And once Elon Musk is saying anything about Dogeparty, this goes like to not to moon but to Mars, and you never know. I mean, that can happen. And I think the immediate step would be just to attract more and more Dogecoin enthusiasts, to mint on Dogeparty and to use it. And another thing is to tip not Dogecoin, which is nice, but also kind of boring because it's a fungible asset, but to tip NFTs. And this is already possible with a little trick where you embed a dispenser, so you can tip someone money, and then it's basically triggering the dispenser, and this person is receiving the NFT. And I think tipping NFTs, that can be a big thing, because who doesn't like to just receive an NFT for free, which is, I mean, amazing. Just giveaways via Twitter, where you just say, look, I count this and that Dogecoin asset, and it's linked to your wallet, and you're not triggering, let's say, the 10 Doge or the 69 Doge or the 42 Doge, but you trigger your NFT, and then this person holds the NFT. So I think there's potential as well. And of course, this Elon thing, I mean, that's like the ultimate end goal. And if this happens, then we don't need to be afraid. But that's a long shot, obviously. But we have these supporters in this, in this world, and you never know. I mean, one day I think we'll be there.
I think so too. I think there's a lot of parallels between the Bitcoin and counterparty community, but then a lot of differences because of the meme and fun-loving nature of Dogecoin and the exemption of maximalism, of the maximalist culture. At least, hopefully, that never makes its way over to Dogecoin. But I think there's a bright future. I'm a holder of a lot of the historical assets on Dogeparty, and a good friend with all of you guys. So I really appreciate you for coming on, taking the time. I think the Dogeparty Foundation is in good hands with yourself and the other 7 members, and there's a bright future as long as we just stay together and continue to build.
Okay, great. I mean, thanks for having me. Thanks for being able to talk about Dogeparty. And looking forward to the next years.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Get yourself a Doge wallet, get some Dogeparty assets, and we'll see you next time.